Hey, welcome back to Hell in the Hallway with your host Billy and hey, we're trying to make it through this time with our quarantine, right? That for some people is looking to end, and so we have a lot of opportunity when this does end at some point to talk about how we were managing our time and what we did with our time. And so actually that's what today's session is about. Today's session is about how are you handling the time in your life, right? So I have a few questions for you. So my questions are you watching time? Are you just kind of watching it go by and not sure what to do? Are you oblivious to time? Like, I have no idea. It's just kind of going it is what it is, whatever happens. Are you fearful of time, anxiously watching it all the time, completely stressed out about it? Or are you fearful of it, right? Scared to death of that you don't have enough? Or are you resting in time? You're resting in time because you have taken time to prepare, and then prepare when it meets any kind of luck or it turns into opportunity, right? If you're a luck kind of person. So during this time, I've had a lot of opportunity to reflect and reveal a lot of things about myself. Some really great, some not so great, and those are things that I know that I have to kind of personally work on, right? And my quest in doing that was making sure this was happening. This quarantine thing was not just happening to me, but it was actually happening for me, right? And I had to really consider what was happening to me as well. I was so busy trying to make sure I was productive that I had to recognize that this is actually happening to you too. So I had to give myself a little grace in that, right? But for the most part, my goal was to look at my life in terms of my destiny. And I had to recognize that destiny is not just a mystery. Destiny is a decision, right? Not just a mystery, a decision. And we're going to look at this decision through the eyes of the stone, the throw, the impact, and the ripple effect. Yes, absolutely. It's like throwing a stone in a puddle and watching it go. It's a whole process in that, right? But first, we need to look at your stone. What is your stone? Your stone is equated to your gifts and your talents, right? So when I look at gifts and I look at it through a spiritual lens, and again, that's just my belief system. Not everybody shares that, and I respect that, right? And that requires a whole different podcast if we talk about the notion of spiritual gifts. But gifts either allows for you to be able to have the ability to say something, the ability to do something, or the ability to reveal something. And that is, again, a very different way of looking at gifts. Talents, on the other hand, are a little bit different. Talents is something that you believe you have self-developed, that's you really have a good skill set for, or it might even be something that you believe you have inherited, right? There are individuals who right now believe that their athleticism is coming from their parents, that they have been primed in a way to be able to do it so well, right? It's interesting, like my grandson loves basketball, and man, on a regular basis he is trying to shoot that little basketball, and he's all of 3 years old. Okay, so those are the ideas of gifts and talents in my world, in my worldview. Gifts is something that is God-given. Talent is something that you believe you have inherited, or that you have a skill set that you've developed. So we've kind of looked at gifts and talents, right? The next thing you have to look at as it pertains to your destiny is your desire. What attracts you? What do you find that you love to do? And you would do it if you didn't get paid for it. Now, for many people, that ain't much, right? We need our paper. However, I actually love what I do. I love it. I can't even believe half the time I actually do get paid for that. That I get to be a part of somebody's process and their lives and their pain, and they give me permission to do so. So we looked at our gifts, we looked at our talents, we had an idea of our desire, but now we got to throw it. the throw? Are you throwing it with intentionality, patience, and purpose, right? Or are you anxious and fearful and you're not even sure what to do with it, right? And that's a scary place to be. Here you are with these gifts, here you are with these talents, and you don't even know what to do with them, right? Or even worse, you could be oblivious, have no clue whatsoever what you got, but everybody keeps telling you, don't they? They keep sharing it with you, but you won't take time to do something with them. Or maybe you don't even think that can't be me. That can't be me. I'm not worthy of that, you know. So we have to have some sort of purpose that's driving our gift and our talent, right? So gift and talent on its own doesn't do a whole lot. We have to have a purpose in which to drive them through. And again, we could be so afraid to utilize our gifts and talents because we just want to do what we used to do. We just want to do what we are familiar with, right? I want to tell you a story. It's a really good story. And it's this story about pearls, right? I should have worn some. There's a story about pearls. Let me tell you. There's this little girl, and this was back in the day where $2 was a lot of money. And, you know, that had to be a way, way back in the day. And she was with her mom, and they went to the store, and this young girl saw a pair of fake pearls, and she said, Mom, I absolutely gotta get those pearls. Can I get them? And the mother said, no, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. We don't have the money. I can't really get them right now, right? She said, but you know what? Your grandmother gives you $1 every time you do all your work, your school work and your housework, and she gives it to you every 6 months. If you want, you can save it, and then you can buy it for yourself, right? So she's not thinking anything of it, right? She thinks that little girl's going to forget all about it, you know, get her mind off the pearls and keep it moving, right? No. Not only does this little girl do it, right? She is so good for 6 months. She's cleaning up. She's doing as she's told. She gets all her schoolwork in. I mean, she is getting it, right? She earns that $1 that first 6 months. And she keeps it, right? Then she does it again the next 6 months. She saves up all her money, all of $2, right? The next 6 months, like I said, she cleans up, she does her work, she works super hard. She's being on her best behavior. She's going to get those pearls because that's on her mind. That's her agenda. That's her purpose. That's her focus. She goes into the store. She finally gets it after a year of saving, and she buys her little pearls. She's so proud. She buys her little pearls. She's wearing them everywhere. She's in the playground. She won't take them off to take a bath. She wears them to school. She loves those little fake pearls, right? One day, after a couple of months of wearing those pearls, her father came up to her. He said, sweetheart, I love you. Let me get those pearls. And she said, oh, no, Daddy, you must be kidding. I love these pearls. Why would you ask me for my pearls? That's crazy. No. He said, it's okay, sweetheart. I love you. He gives her a kiss and walks away. So she continues on, right? Couple of more months, same thing. Dad comes after her, come up to her and said, hey, sweetheart, I love you. Let me get those pearls. Daddy, no. I worked so hard to get these pearls. I did all this stuff by myself. I cleaned up everything. Look how beautiful they look on me. Everybody likes to see me like this. This is gorgeous. I can't give you my pearls. And he said, it's okay. I love you. And he walks away. Last time, a few more months go by, same thing. Sweetheart, I love you. Let me get these pearls. And she is outdone. Daddy, why do you want to take these pearls from me? Why do you want to take the most beautiful thing I've ever owned? I'm not going to own anything any more beautiful than this. Why would you do this to me? Why would you take this from me? Everybody, I worked so hard. I did this all by myself, and you want to take something that I did on my own. And he said, it's okay. I love you. And he walked away. So she was disheartened, right? She sit back and she said, he must really need these pearls. He must really have to have them for some reason. And I trust my dad. I love my dad. He must really need to have them. So she begrudgingly reaches behind, unclaps the hook, put them in her hand, with a palm in her hand, and she hands them to her father. And as she was handing him the pearls, he had a beautiful velvet box, and he handed her a pair of not only real pearls, but a pair of real pearl earrings. And he said, sweetheart, I could not give you this new thing until you were ready to get rid of the old. How many times do we do that ourselves? How many times do we live in the old and we're so used to it, and we believe that this is all that God has for us. We believe this is all that there is, because hey, I worked for this is all I have, there's no other further, I can't get anything else. So we won't even look to see if there's anything else that we can do. And we've been given something new to do, but we'll shy away from it because hey, these are my pearls, these are the ones I worked hard for, these are the ones that I know about. So we stick to that. Because guess what? That's safe. That's safe. It's a risk to take off those pearls and hand them over, right? So there's a moral to that story, right? God doesn't actually need your pearls. Nah. God needs your trust. And what her father needed in that moment was his daughter's trust, right? He had her love. He needed her trust, right? And she needed to be able to let go and release. She had to release in order to receive. How many times do we hold on to things that we actually should have been moved on from because we're too scared? So we can't even receive the new thing because we're so comfortable in the old. The other moral to that story is, even when you tell God no, he still loves you, right? And that doesn't mean you keep saying no, right? But it should put your mind, your heart at ease that you are loved. And that's so important to know. That was important for me to know, right? So I wanted you to make sure we recognize how being familiar can keep us trapped. It can keep us trapped from our destiny, right? So we talked about the stone, right? And the stone being your gifts and your talents. And we talked about the throw, making sure you throw it with intentionality, right? And we included a lot of components in that in terms of fear. And the next part we're going to kind of talk about is understanding the impact, right? You take a stone, you throw it in the water. There's not a ripple effect at first. There's an impact. So that's the part that we have to recognize. There's a breaking of the status quo in that moment, right? So when you finally throw the stone, as in the story, right? You give up those pearls. There, it hits the water and things change, and they change fast, and that can feel scary. That can feel scary to actually throw that stone and watch it happen. And sometimes we're so scared because we really feel disoriented. We feel that things could be fearful, and failure is looming, right? We're so scared to fail, but we have to recognize that failure doesn't mean we are a failure. No. Failure means that it gives us an opportunity to know that we have learned something. See, something doesn't go well, it means that we've learned, and we've learned more. All right? So that's important for us to recognize. The impact ends the status quo. So when that rock hits the water, when that stone hits the water, it is nothing the same. It's not the same. It has been changed. And guess what? The stone, when it hits the water, it does not ask for permission to disrupt it. No. It just expects it. And so we have to recognize that when we have a shift in our lives, when things are changing, when we're actually stepping into that new things, that our things will be disrupted. We have to be okay with that and be at rest, right? That's going back to trust again. If you are a believer, that's trusting and saying, oh, wow, this feels really uncomfortable, but you're trusting in that uncomfortability, right? So I tell you this much, you will never learn to swim by putting your toe in the water. You're gonna have to jump in that cold water and swim. And that's what this is. You taking on that new thing is jumping into that water. So that's the impact. Now we have to look at the ripple effect, and that's the biggest piece that we all miss, including myself. See, the ripple effect is when you take that stone, right? You throw it into the water with intentionality, and it has an impact, breaks the water. Now there's a ripple effect. See, we tend to believe that our gifts and our talents belong to us, that they're only here to benefit us, and they're not. See, we're benefiting each other with our gifts and our talents, and we become, I don't want to say selfish, but that's the only thing I can think of, right? We fail to recognize that our gifts are to help fulfill somebody else's gift, right? It can serve as a catalyst for someone else. We can have dreams that are inside somebody else's dream. So as I'm fulfilling my dream, somebody else's dream is being fulfilled. Why? Because I am a catalyst. I am sharing it. When I throw my gift, my stone, with intentionality and purpose, and it has an impact, therefore it has a ripple effect, that means somebody else is impacted. I become a catalyst. We are not here for ourselves and by ourselves. We're here for each other. And we tend to struggle with remembering that, right? So you have to remember that your dream composes of your gifts, right? Which is your gifts and talents, or your destiny. Your gifts and talents, which is your stone. In terms of the throw, are you throwing it with intentionality and purpose? And to recognize the impact that it will disrupt things. And then also the ripple effect, that it doesn't just belong to you. Our dreams and our destinies and our gifts and our talents are here to share with the world, right? Because when we are manifesting our dreams, we're manifesting our destinies. We give other people permission to do the same. We just do. So we have to recognize that even through this process of destination, and which I'm actually talking about a lot today, there's more about the revelation of yourself as you go through this destination process, as you seek to find and to fulfill your destiny. Thanks again for tuning in to Hell in the Hallway, and I will see you soon.